Hey, what's up, fam? Welcome back to the Two Goat Show. We're your hosts, Miriah and Steph. Steph, how you doing? Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. I am good. I am great. It's been an awesome week. You know, our team is 5-0. I know, Miriah, you're a Aces fan as well, and they're 2-0 right now in finals. So we're feeling great, right?
Yep. Aces, man, they came out last night and destroyed. Like, there was a point where I think it was up like 20 something to 2 or to 4 or something. Like, it was crazy, and they didn't let off the entire game. So yeah, it's beautiful. Now they got to go to New York. Hopefully they're able to sweep them. I keep calling it everybody's New York darlings because, you know, this, like, the media hype around New York is crazy. So I really hope the Aces can put it to them. But yeah, fam, what's up? Hope everybody's doing great out there. It is great to be 5-0. It was great to destroy the Cowboys the way that we did. Before we get into that too much, though, I know that you made the trip to Santa Clara and was at the game. So share that with us. How did that go? How was your time?
I mean, it was incredible. I knew that there was going to be that playoff energy in this one, which is awesome considering it was only week 5, but just given the history of these two teams, all the talk going into it, and it felt pretty high stakes for both teams going into it. So yeah, I think the faithful showed out. There was like a decent number of like Cowboys fans there, but nothing that would be enough to like drain out 49er fans. We were loud as hell. Like, I could hear like my ears were ringing as we're like yelling on like third downs and whatnot. It was just awesome. And the 49ers gave us a reason to cheer for the entire game pretty much. So I definitely appreciated that.
Yeah, I bet that was a electric game to be at. I've had the biggest case of FOMO ever because, you know, and that's with every game. I feel like on the road, you know, every game like I see pictures of the faithful out there having all this fun. It's like, man, I wish I was there.
You got to go out to one. Yeah. Soon. Make it happen.
Miss Debbie said the Cowboys fans left early.
Yeah, they did.
I'm sure, you know, I wouldn't, if I was at an away game. Well, I don't know, because I'm one of those people where, you know, if I pay for a ticket and obviously pay for the trip and all this stuff, like, I'm not leaving the game early. Like, I don't care if we're getting our butt kicked, but
yeah, see, that's the thing. It feels it's
by
different.
30 points. Yeah.
It's different when your team is like, you know, getting humiliated in front of, you know, the other fans, and you have all these people cheering around you. It feels obnoxious, right? As a fan. But yeah, I don't blame them. You know, that Bay Area traffic is something else too. So maybe, you know, maybe they just wanted to beat the traffic a little bit too.
So I named this episode, you know, is the duo at linebacker that we're seeing right now. Is it the best that the 49ers have ever had? You know, and I think this has been a question maybe, you know, back that we've been having for the last couple years, you know, but I think this season it seems, you know, Greenlaw has even taken a next step. Fred is just unbelievable. Like, the things that he's able to do on a football field. Like, I don't know if I'm sure you saw that clip that was going around this week and about how like Fred's like 4 players at once or 5 players at once. And it had like every stop, like, okay, he's, you know, disrupting this lane. He's doing this. You're doing like, he's like able to do so many things like on one play. It's so crazy. And the two of them are just been unbelievable. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Do you think, you know, that this duo has come to the point where they're at or surpassing Bowman and Willis, or do you think they still have a ways to go? And if so, I mean, what more would you want to see from them in order to take that next step over those two?
I don't think they're there yet, right? But like, I think it's definitely to that point where you can start having the discussion. And it's no disrespect to like Willis. Like, I hope people understand that. I know that the topic is sometimes a little touchy because there's a lot of love for what Patrick Willis did, and Navarro Bowman as well. And so it's to me, it's not really like a debate for arguing. It's more so a debate of appreciating like both tandems and what they're able to do for both teams, right? And I had talked about this early in the week in my podcast, and so like I did put together Patrick Willis and Fred Warner's uh stats uh
Mhm. I
together.
didn't even know that you had talked about it.
Yeah, yeah. I saw other people like talking about it too. Let me see if I can just throw up the hold on. If it's slide 6, if you throw that up, Miriah,
Okay.
that's Patrick Willis in his 8 seasons, his stats, and then on the right it's Fred Warner in his 6th season right now and counting, right? It feels like Fred Warner is going to surpass 8 seasons,
Hmm.
I guess.
Hopefully, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you don't really know, but as of right now, it looks like he could play for a while longer. Um, so yeah, I mean, if you look at the tackles,
Hmm.
Willis had 950 tackles, Fred Warner 731. So again, he's on his way, right? Like I don't know how many tackles Warner's averaging per year, but if you look at those two numbers, they're about 2 years apart
Hmm.
in, having equal seasons. I think Fred Warner's on his way. And another thing I'll point out, obviously, it's hard to quantify the impact of a player just based solely on stats. That's
Right.
one. And another thing is it's kind of two completely different eras of football and linebacking. In as a whole, I think the linebacker position has changed quite a bit since then. While it doesn't seem like it was that long, I believe Willis it was 2007, I think, when he
Wow.
retired or something like that. So,
Damn, it don't
yeah,
seem like it's been that long, but man,
yeah,
it
right.
has, huh?
So I let me double check before I, misspeak, but yeah, it really doesn't seem like it's been that long, but like I said, like the linebacking position has changed a bit since then, where now you're seeing more of these like hybrid linebackers or guys that are safety converts. They're more sideline to sideline. They're speedy. Oh, sorry. Wait, Willis. This is why 2007 was in my head. That's when he won Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Oh,
That's not
okay.
when he retired. So 2007 was his first year, Patrick Willis, and then he played
Okay.
8 seasons. And then I'll also throw this out. Willis is a 7-time Pro Bowler, 6-time All Pro. He was in first team 5 times and second team once. And so to me, like the conversation is more so about Fred Warner and Patrick Willis. I don't really think that Dre Greenlaw is on the level of Navarro Bowman quite yet. Although, like, I didn't get the chance to put their stats side by side to make that argument, but
Hmm.
it's just a feeling I have. I
Yeah.
don't feel that he's on that level. Now, as a tandem, I do feel like Greenlaw is he he matches Fred's energy very well, I would say. And so yeah, that's where I'm at. Sorry, like I feel like I'm rambling, but
No,
yeah, I
that's
don't
good.
think I think it's fun conversation. It's
Hmm.
not to like, have any diss at those guys because obviously they were great and they I think changed the position, certainly changed the way we view like the linebacker position in San Francisco. So we've been fortunate enough to have so many
Yeah,
great 49er linebackers. I think about Chris Borland as well. He
I
looked like he
know,
could have been
man.
really good, man. That
I
still
was so
bums me out.
excited for him.
He was
Like
our
that, I felt
future.
like that broke my heart when he announced that he was retiring after a year. It was like, are you kidding me?
Real, yeah, seriously. But yeah,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
appreciate what both of the tandems are doing or did
yeah,
doing
we're
it.
fortunate to like even be able to have this conversation that we're
Exactly.
we're even comparing to, linebackers to those all-time greats, Um and I agree with the Bowman and Greenlaw, that Greenlaw is not quite on that level yet, but I mean, Bowman was one of my, I know a lot of people liked Willis and that was their favorite player. And like, I loved him as well, but Bowman, just he played with just this, like, I don't even know how to explain it, but I feel like when he was on the field making plays and stuff, like he brought a feeling like that you could feel at home, like on your couch, like he just like was like an electric player. Like, I don't know, like he just I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like when he was on the field, like I felt like there was, like I always had confidence that a play was going to be made on the defense. Like it didn't matter how, the other team, they could have been up 30 points, but if Bowman would have been out there on the field on this play, like I know that, okay, I feel better about it, like it was just a confidence I had in him specifically, even though, there was some shitty teams and defenses that he was on. It was just like, I don't know. I just loved him as a player. And I wish, like, I feel like we all got robbed, and Patrick Willis himself got robbed of, like what his career could have been had, he not had those, what was it, like toe injuries or foot, something with his feet, right? But could you imagine, had he been able to play like 15 years or something, he would definitely be in the Hall of Fame, and all this stuff right now, because wow,
he'd be untouchable. I think if like he continued playing, like this wouldn't even be a discussion,
right?
I think, because that's how good he was and how dominant he was. But yeah, because he didn't play quite as long, it's like, oh, like Fred, might be on that level, right? So
yeah. Me and TL, what's up, TL? I see you in the chat as well. We were asked this question from the chat yesterday on our show, and so I wanted to ask you and see what you thought about it. And it was, is this the best, like all like fully rounded 49ers team that we have seen?
Because I didn't start watching the team till like, maybe a little before like 2010, around that era, like the Mike Singletary and all that. For me, it's an easy yes. But I know in talking with other fans who, watched the 94 team,
right?
they kind of, I think they're having a hard time still like putting it above that one, but it's close is kind of like the sense that I get from hearing from them. So for me, yes, it's easy. But for them, I think that 94 team is kind of comparable.
Yeah. I was having trouble, like, in my recent memory as well. And of course, I haven't been watching as long as, some people have either. But I think in my recent memory that it is as well. And, Bosa was asked something about the offense this week in his presser, and he had said that, like he has a lot of confidence, in this offense. And, I feel like for once, and I love a team that the defense can carry them, that has a badass defense, right? But like for so long, and even with, outside of the Shanahan, time, I feel like we've had that, stout defense. The 49ers have been known for having a great defense, right? Like defense. But finally, we have a team that, the offense can actually do something. It's like the defense don't have to be out there scoring touchdowns and stuff, although it would be nice, but they don't have to, because we finally have an offense that can do something. Like, and it's so exciting to finally, like, like when people would say, oh, this team's just a quarterback away, and yeah, we added CMC, so maybe we were a quarterback and CMC away, but man, the two additions of them has really set this team. Whew, like, and I think that too, like, yeah, people might say even back, oh, Montana's team, or, some other teams, the old heads, have comparisons, but I just think, I don't know. And just to be having this conversation after only 5 games, like it's crazy, like I think if they keep this up the entire season, hopefully, knock on wood, that we have that we stay healthy and can do what we need to do. But a whole season of this, I think there's definitely in that conversation. Kind of around that same thing, Brock, obviously we know it's a small sample size of 5 games, but a lot of the, media now has him in the top 5, quarterback discussion for this season. Where do you think Brock Purdy, is? And yeah, we know the numbers, but based on how you feel, your eye test, you watching Brock Purdy and knowing, the other quarterbacks in the league, where do you personally put Brock Purdy at right now?
I mean, I think my answer would be biased, right? Because I only watch the 49ers to the extent that I do, like more so than any other team. Other teams I'm watching red zone. I'm not watching every throw. Um, but I do know the names, and so I put Brock Purdy top 5 right now in how he's playing right now. Like if we're just looking at this season, right? I would put him top 5 just because like if you look at all the metrics, if you look at all the stats and you look at how he's playing, he is playing like a top 5
Mhm.
quarterback right now. And you depending on who you ask, they might say he's the top 1 right now or top 3, right? So yeah, that's definitely where I would put him. I understand like not calling him elite yet. Like I've had this conversation with other people where it's like, okay, if you're an elite quarterback, that's something you gain throughout multiple seasons. That's not something you get one season or in just a few games. Like being elite means you are playing at a high level for multiple seasons, and it's not something that can be taken away from you in one like off season either.
Mhm.
So yeah, elite is this highly coveted thing, and I don't think Brock Purdy is there yet because he hasn't played enough.
Right.
He hasn't gotten that chance to make his case. I don't think to be in that elite conversation. He's playing like an elite quarterback.
Yeah.
He's playing like a top 5 quarterback. He's playing like a guy who should be in the discussion for MVP. And I'll leave it at that. We'll just keep it rolling, see if he can keep it rolling, and yeah, like that's all it needs to be right now.
Yeah, like I feel like the discussion there's on one side, people giving Brock all this credit, right? He's a top 5, he's this, he's that. And then there's the other side where, oh, well, it's Brock, he's on a loaded team, it's his weapons, it's Shanahan, it's, everything but Brock, right? And that this week I've also heard the conversation where you could take Mac Jones and switch him out with Brock Purdy, and
Yeah.
Mac Jones would be having the same type of season and be doing the same that Brock Purdy's doing right now,
Hmm.
which I think is laughable. But how do you feel
Yeah.
about that?
I mean, that one is laughable. And like, what's funny about Dan saying that, and he was on, I think it was Kane BR, and so like now he's like, oh, like it hurt my feelings a bit that George Kittle thinks that was disrespectful for me to say that. Like, dude, I mean, it was like, do you
Yeah.
not understand what you said? Like, come on. Uh, so I don't get this guy. And then also he said, um, I believe that there are about 8 quarterbacks who would be playing, very well with the 49ers right now. Yeah, that's true. Like, I mean, there's a lot of really good quarterbacks that I
Yeah.
think would be fair to say. Mac Jones to me isn't one of those guys.
No.
Like, why Mac Jones? Why
Yeah.
Mac Jones of it? You know,
Because he's a
to
nerdy
use
white guy that fits in the same
well,
spot that
to me, it's
that
not just
Brock is.
that. Like the what you're saying, what you're implying by saying Mac Jones is that a guy who's not playing so well right now can look as good as Brock Purdy is in San Francisco. Like
Mhm.
he could have used any of the top, quarterbacks in the league, I guess, to make his same point, but he used Mac Jones. That's the part that makes it disrespectful. That's the part that people are going to push back on because I think what we see Brock Purdy doing, I mean, we've been talking about it. I think it like extends beyond just being the system and all that because we see how well he's playing. He's making these anticipation throws. He's playing with a lot of like a big football IQ, I think is what we're seeing. Like he's very smart on the field. Um
Mhm.
and so I don't know. To me that's what was disrespectful about it. That's what is rubbing people the wrong way and come on, he should know. He should know why people are upset about it.
And then, like all we see and hear from like, the mic'd ups and everything, during the games is how much of a dog Purdy is when he's out there, right? So take all the football shit away, even just the person themselves. Like Mac Jones is always freaking crying on the football field. He's like always pinching players and grabbing their things and doing all this dirty shit, right? And then you have Purdy, who's a freaking dog out there, like shooting up and shit on the field. And it's completely two different players. Like, why? Like you said, why Mac Jones? And like, that the craziness that went on during the draft, right? Like anybody but hashtag anyone but Mac, right? And then you still want to bring up Mac Jones and throw him into this team. It's like, I'm so tired of hearing about Mac, and I'm so tired of hearing about Cousins. Hopefully, finally with the way Brock's playing and the way this team's doing, like we can shut down the Cousins conversations as well.
Oh yeah,
I'm sick of it.
Those have been shut.
Because it's still like, oh well, he's on the last season, now they're asking him if he would waive his trade clause and all this stuff. It's like, well, he ain't coming here.
Yeah, at least we know that for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of trades, though, we know that I don't think I've talked to you since. Did we? When did we trade for?
No, because it happened like Friday, I think.
Okay. So yeah, we traded for Randy Gregory. We know that obviously he's now with the team, practicing, all that good stuff. How did you feel about that? And then do you think that the 49ers still end up making a move prior to the trade deadline?
I really like the move. I think it's a low risk, potentially high reward kind of move for the 49ers. And they've done moves like that in the past that have worked out. I'm thinking about Emmanuel Sanders. But I think it's good. I think they're looking at what the defensive line was doing. Maybe, Nick Bosa only having 2 sacks, or he only had 1 sack at the time that they made the trade, and he's getting all these pressures, but he's not getting the sacks. And you have Clinton Farrell and Drake Jackson on the other side. Maybe they felt that those guys weren't really moving the needle as much as they would have liked. So I think that's part of the motivating factor of them getting someone like Gregory, along with how I mentioned, like he's pretty cheap in the regard that they're paying him $840,000 this year. The rest of his contract isn't guaranteed. So if it doesn't work out, or if you get a Super Bowl this year, you can cut them, and there will be no additional payments to be made by the 49ers. So I do like that part about it. Yeah, so I think the hope, the expectation is that he can add a little bit juice on the other side of Nick Bosa, and that'll help Nick Bosa and maybe some other guys on the defensive line get home, because he's more of like a speed rush guy. So as we've seen, that is a good compliment to what Nick Bosa brings on his own. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping. As far as like any other trades that the 49ers may make before the trade deadline, I'm not sure. It would not surprise me if they're calling, some of those teams, just seeing who's available. If there's another guy who they feel can make an impact and is also like low risk, I would think, I think they would do it. I'm not sure I know what position they would target. I think that's the question. Had you told me they would definitely look at an edge rusher, another pass rusher, I don't know if I would have assumed that,
Right.
when they got Gregory, but I liked it, right? You're always looking at ways to improve your team. They say that all the time. John Lynch does as well. So, yeah, maybe like nickel corner would be one thing I would, sniff around on. It's hard, I think, to find good nickel corners in this league. But if you could get a clear upgrade over Isaiah Oliver, hell, like I think that's a really good spot to target.
Yeah. Ty says, why do the 49ers always have to trade for someone? When does it stop? And, like this question went out because the Broncos had said they were trading another, like they're going to either release or trade another defensive line guy. I forget who, but I put a joke out on Twitter and I'm like, oh, do we have room for another one? And like so many
Yeah.
people got so mad in the comments, like nobody knows how to take a joke, you know, like, oh, we don't need this, and how much people do you guys need? And like I feel like, you know, obviously not another defensive line piece, but if this is the best team that we've seen from the 49ers, and they, you know, we're legit going to make a run for the Super Bowl or bust, like everybody's
Yeah.
claiming, then you do everything that you fucking can to win the Super Bowl. So,
Yeah.
you know, whether that's trade for a DB and a backup O-line piece, and I don't give a shit. You do what you need to do to win this fucking Super Bowl. Period.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it also comes from, you know, a lot of opposing fan bases were, myself included, were mad when the Rams, you know, went all in on their Super Bowl and they were picking up guys at the trade deadline, making those big off-season splash moves. And, you know, yeah, like it pissed me off too. But look, it got them a ring. If we can guarantee that, you know, why not? Why not do it? And again, because the 49ers have been so close for so long, like if you can get a player to move the needle even just a little bit, the 49ers are already so good. They don't need a player to move the needle a whole lot at this
Right.
point. I think Christian McCaffrey did that for them last year. But yeah, if you can add just a little bit extra, why not? And if they can afford it, why not?
Yeah. You know, kind of on that same thing, and right after this, we're going to get into the game, but and I know obviously 1 week at a time, you know, the 49ers, you know, we're just trying to go 1-0 this week. Well, we're not players, so whatever. We can think ahead. I want to know, do you think, you know, obviously we're talking about it, the ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl. Well, we know that the two teams I feel standing in our way are the Eagles, right? In the NFC, still the only other undefeated team. The ones that obviously we didn't have a quarterback, but we know how it ended last season, so you have to give them the respect, right? And the Chiefs. You know, ultimately, like we need to be able to beat the Chiefs. Do you think that we finally have the team that one? Like I feel like, you know, even if you didn't have the defense that can be able to stop Mahomes, because it's hard to stop Mahomes, right? Like he's going to make plays, he's going to put up points, but and I feel like prior we didn't have the offense or the quarterback leading the offense that could be able to outduel Patrick Mahomes, right? Like if you're going back and forth, we've seen like how he does with Josh Allen. You know, like it literally comes down to the last second on the time clock because they're back and forth. Like whoever has the ball last and scores last, that's who's going to win the game, right? Like, do you feel like we finally have the offense and the defense, and even the special teams is playing crazy good, you know, the kicker, the punter, the the gunners, everybody's playing great. Do we finally have the team that's going to be able to compete and even be able to beat the Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs?
As it stands right now, I mean, we're in week 5. A lot can change with 49ers. A lot can change with any of those two teams that you just mentioned, right? But as of right now, if I'm looking at all three of these teams, I think the 49ers are playing the best out of all of them, including the Chiefs. Like the Chiefs honestly don't look that great right now. I
Right.
think they're working through some things. I think they'll figure, you know, they'll work out those kinks, and eventually as the end of the regular season gets closer, they'll be a lot more focused. But yeah, as it stands in week 5 or after week 5, I feel really good about the 49ers. And the reason, like you mentioned, is that this team is the most balanced 49ers offense we've seen in a really, really long time. And I was mentioning on my show earlier and yesterday, I just like bringing it up because I think it shows how good of a team, overall team, the 49ers are right now. That the 49ers are the only team in the league right now with the top 10 unit in DVOA in all 3 phases of the game. And so I don't remember the last time they've been this balanced. So
Right.
yeah, you have an offense that, you know, if your defense is playing a really tough offense, like a Patrick Mahomes led offense or a Jalen Hurts tush push led offense, then you have an offense in the 49ers that can keep up. And all your defense needs to do is limit them, you know, and
Mhm.
let your offense do what it does. So I feel really good about it. And if you look at some of the other teams, you look at the Chiefs, you look at the Eagles are actually a pretty well balanced team as well. So yeah, I think they're going to be an issue for the 49ers for this season. Of course, they are going to be in the way. I think they'll be they feel like they're in each other's way right now, right? Like one of those teams are going to have to, face each other. We'll get a better idea in week 13. But most of the teams that have really good offenses aren't balanced really. Like they don't have the defense that's as good to, play this complementary like football where one unit is helping the other one out kind of thing. Um, the only team right now that I can think of that's on that level, at least in the NFC, is the Eagles. And I also throw in the Lions, right? Because
Yeah,
I think
they're
the
looking good.
Lions look really good too. And I think they're also on like the up and up. Like I think there's room for improvement for them too. So they're dealing with some injuries on the defensive side of the ball, but yeah, I think they're also going to be a problem in the NFC.
Yeah, I agree. I like the Lions, and I talked about this with TL yesterday. Like, I really like the Lions coaching staff, because most of I don't know this year, but I know last year 100% of their coaching staff were ex players that had played in the NFL, and like of course you don't need to obviously have played football to coach football. We know that there's other coaches that haven't, or they only played, little bit of college and whatnot. But I think it really goes a long way because that team was so young, right? And a lot of teams they'll keep like the veteran guy, like we kept around, Richard Sherman, Jason Verrett, because they were the old vets, right? So that they could be able to teach the young guys. And if you have a coaching staff that are the old vets, like that really comes in handy when you have such a young team like the Lions had the last couple years. And like they've really like built that team from the ground up, and they're doing things the right way. And I know a lot of people thought they were crazy, their first intro video, remember when he was talking about biting kneecaps and whatnot, like, but man, like when they were on Hard Knocks, like that, they had me wanting to freaking go out there and lace up and play football for them, right? Like they're the real deal. Like I really, I think the 49ers are a lot better than them still. But I mean, in their shitty ass division, like they're doing pretty good. So let's get into this Cleveland game. We know it was announced today that Elijah Mitchell's back at practice, and take that for what it is. I don't know. I really hope that they keep Mason at running back too. I think he deserves to be there. And I mean, let's be honest, every time Elijah Mitchell comes back from injury, he's out in another game or two. So, like, I kind of just wish they would trade him, honestly. Like, now that he's healthy or he's back at practice, like, make him one of the trade deadlines. They're tied. We don't have to trade for anybody. Let's trade away somebody. How about that? Because, man, like, I really like Elijah Mitchell. Like, I met him in person. He's a really nice guy. And he runs, like when he's healthy, he's a great runner, right? Like he carried this team, but man, he's just had the worst injury luck. I don't know. Like, but I mean, other than that, Banks, they thought like he had a serious pec injury or whatnot, and ended up being, I think, a shoulder that he's day to day. So luckily, we're doing pretty good on the injury front. On the other hand, the Browns, they're not so lucky. Obviously, we know Chubb is out for the season, right? And they're now Watson is hurt. They say that I guess they're coming off of a bye, and he didn't play the week before with Ravens. I don't know if he practiced today, but he didn't practice yesterday. So I mean, they're saying that PJ Walker will get the start if he can't start, and which is surprising because DTR got the start against the Ravens, but I guess that experiment's over. So the 49ers most likely are going to go up against PJ Walker. How you feeling? You feeling confident about this one?
I do, and really what gives me confidence is what I was talking about before. The 49ers are a balanced team, and you look at the Browns and they are completely one-sided on this team, and it's all their defense, right? They have the number one defense in DVOA and in a number of other metrics, and their offense is ranked 26th in DVOA, and they're really like middle of the pack, bottom half of the league in a lot of other like offensive metrics, right? So, yeah, I mean, in that case, I would feel good. I think the 49ers defense just has to keep the game close, which they will. It shouldn't be a problem to limit this Browns offense, especially with PJ Walker, who, by the way, Steve Wilks has experience with. So that can, come to an advantage here as well. Yeah. Thank you, Symmetry 7. I didn't even see that one. Yeah. So I think the advantage is for the 49ers defense. And as long as they can shut the Browns offense down and limit them to 3-and-outs, their defense is going to have to stay on the field for a really long time against this 49ers offense. And if the offense of the 49ers gets into this game where, they're not making a lot of big plays, because, by the way, the Browns defense is second best in limiting explosive plays. The 49ers are the best at limiting explosive plays. So if the 49ers offense aren't getting these big plays downfield and all this stuff, that's okay. I think they can live with that. I think what I'm going to see from the 49ers is how differently can they win? Can they find another way to win if they're being limited a bit on offense? If you get another team like the Browns who maybe can stop Christian McCaffrey or limit McCaffrey, kind of like we saw the Dallas Cowboys do, who's going to step up once again? I wouldn't be surprised if George Kittle has himself another big game in this one, quite honestly. And I'm also looking at Brandon Ayuk to have a good game again as well. So, yeah, I think the 49ers offense just has to keep chipping away at it. And eventually, like, the floodgates are going to open because the Browns defense is just going to have to be on the field for a long time.
Yeah, I think the obviously the person you'd be most worried about on the Browns is Myles Garrett, and pretty similar to Parsons this last week, he mostly lines up over Trent Williams' side.
Yeah,
and I think the numbers are this season so far he's taken 121 snaps at left tackle, 19 at right tackle, and 9 in the box as an interior rusher. So, I'm really interested to see, if they're going to try to move him around, which I don't know why the Cowboys didn't do that. Like, that's, like, why would you not move, your best pass rusher to the right side and have, that's the weak side of the line? Like, just didn't make sense. So I'm interested to see, if the Browns do try to take advantage of the weak side of the offensive line. Although, I mean, they've been holding up well. They've done, I think the offensive line has done great since week 1, obviously. And that was their, most offensive lines struggle against the Steelers. So, yeah, so I think, if we've seen obviously Kyle, they know how to scheme right around, to help the offensive line. And so I think if they're able to take care of that, we see Brock able, gets rid of the ball on time quickly. I think obviously that's going to help that. And then the Eagles, they were number 1 defense. I mean, the Cowboys were number 1 defense last week. And after the whooping the 49ers put on them, that's why they dropped and the Browns became number 1. So hopefully the 49ers have that same effect on the Browns and we're able to put a whooping on them and drop their asses too.
Yeah, I think I respect the Browns defense a little bit more than the Cowboys defense, but regardless, I do think, like I said, the 49ers eventually are going to be able to get some points on the board. That I'm not so sure about, like the Browns offense, right? If they'll get any points. I'm kind of skeptical right now, but we'll see.
What's your score prediction?
So and I'll just preface this with saying that yesterday I did a show on the PSF app, and I, on the whim, predicted 18-3. And then I was like, man, no, that's not enough. So today I'm saying 23-3. And I'll also add this, that it would not surprise me if the 49ers defense gets a shutout on the Browns offense.
Nice. I'm pretty similar on the Browns score. I'm going with 6. I don't think that they are able to put up a touchdown against us. But 23, I'm thinking, is a tad bit low, Steph. I'm glad you raised it from 18, but I'm going with 38-6.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
You know what? Though? You're going with, like, if you were a bettor, you have to go with the stats. Like, you have to go with the trends. And the 49ers have been not only scoring over 30 in every game, but like it seems like it's increasing every week now. So
the defense, they're able to shut the other team down a little bit more each week. So
all right.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's a good prediction. I'd prefer yours over mine, just saying.
Yeah. Either way, I hope that it's a great game. Hopefully next time we're here, next time I see you, we'll be 6-0. I know let me give this guy his name out here, Ken James, in the chat. He was in the chat of my show yesterday as well, saying that we would be 5-1 after this week. So Ken James, next week when we're 6-0, make sure that you come back, friend, okay? Because we'll be like, I like to see you then and see what your next prediction will be. But yeah, you have anything else? Any other shows? Your show tomorrow? What you got going on?
Yeah, tomorrow I'm doing my preview show, and that's my deep dive preview show. I pretty much look at the cautious matchups for the 49ers and the most favorable matchups, and really looking at what they're doing both on defense and offense. I do that with Lori Fitzpatrick every Friday, so make sure you guys tune into that, 5:30 Pacific time. But yeah, that will be my last show before Sunday. So excited for it.
And are you going to the game or you're staying home?
I will be staying home. I see Courtney's going to the game. Have fun, Courtney. That's awesome. Be safe out there. No fights. Yeah, that's awesome. But no, I'm just staying at home for this one.
Okay. Yep, me as well, of course. But everybody that's going to the game, have a great time. Be safe. I know John V was in the chat earlier, and maybe he's still there. He's going to the game as well. Represent us loud and proud. I'm sure the faithful will take over that stadium like they do every other one. So I'm sure it'll be a great time. But yeah, everybody have a great rest of your Thursday. Have a great rest of your week. And everybody have a safe and happy weekend. And we'll see you guys next week. Steph, I appreciate you as always. Great show. We're out of here, fam.
Peace.